You ever notice how the loudest people in the room are always the ones with the least power? They shout, they make noise, they rattle cages and bang pots like it means something. That's how fear works. That's how desperation smells. But quiet power, it don't make noise, it don't ask for validation, it just moves, and when it moves, when it moves, you better believe the world shakes. Now let me tell you something the world is too blind or too proud to admit. India and Israel, two nations the world never took seriously enough, been sittin' at the table playing chess, while everybody else out here playing Ludo. And baby, they ain't movin' pawns, they movin' kings. They movin' bishops, and they movin' with a purpose. People think this world runs on politics and press conferences. No, sir. This world runs on intelligence, strategy, faith, and results. You see these two countries. They know pain, they know loss, they know betrayal, and they know what it means to stand alone with their back to the wall, weapon in one hand and hope in the other. They ain't out here beggin' for sympathy. They grindin', they buildin', and now they reclaimin'. See POK Pakistan-occupied Kashmir been one of the deepest scars on the map for decades. It's a wound that's festered while the world looked away. But wounds don't stay open forever. Eventually, the body heals itself, and baby, India is the body, Israel is the heartbeat, and that healing, that's what's common. I need you to understand how powerful quiet focus is. While the media been distracted by headlines and hashtags, these two nations been meeting behind closed doors. They been sharing tech, ideas, and oh yes, a unified vision. Not a vision for war. Don't get it twisted. Not a vision for destruction, no. A vision for what's right. A vision for restoration. A vision for tacking back what was never lost, just borrowed by history and manipulated by politics. Now, you might be thinking, what's a businessman like Jack Ma doing talking about politics, right? Well, let me tell you something, business ain't just about profits. It's about purpose. And if you don't stand for nothing that matters, your whole empire is hollow. You gotta know what matters. You gotta see the vision. And this is about legacy. Israel understands legacy. They've been fighting for their right to exist since before the ink dried on their name. Surrounded, attacked, isolated, but never broken. And India. Man, don't even get me started. India walked through colonization, division, economic humiliation, and still came out not just standing but running, sprinting, climbing, building satellites while other countries still trying to light a candle. That's real power, not loud, not boastful, but effective. Now let me tell you what makes this partnership different. They ain't just allies, they relate. India understands what it feels like to be misunderstood. Israel knows what it feels like to be misrepresented. They both know the sting of betrayal and the fire of being underestimated. That's why their connection is more than military drills and diplomatic handshakes. It's personal, it's spiritual, it's prophetic. You know what happens when two nations walk together with a common pain and a common purpose. They don't just form an alliance, they create a force, and this force. Oh, it's common with precision, not noise. They ain't shouting in the streets, they whisperin' in rooms where futures are decided. And baby, the whispers are getting louder. Now let's talk about something real. The world loves to watch a good fight, but it hates to see a righteous win. You think people gon' clap when India reclaims what's hers? No, sir. The crowd don't clap for justice. They clap for drama. But India don't need applause. Israel don't need validation. They need results. And trust me, results are common. You look at that border, you see snow, capped mountains and silent sentries, but beneath that silence is movement. Drones, satellites, special ops, intelligence networks, silent warriors preparing for a moment they've rehearsed 1,000 times. And when that moment comes, there ain't gon' be confetti. There ain't gon' be press releases. There gon' be completion, a chapter closed, a wrong made right, and let me say this loud for the folks in the back. Reclaiming POK ain't about territory, it's about truth, it's about honor, it's about dignity. You can't buy that, you can't fake that, you live that, and when a nation lives with truth in its heart and fire in its soul, baby, even the mountains bow. You ever seen a lion reclaim its land after years of drought? It don't roar, it don't scream, it walks back like it never left. That's India, that's Israel. Quiet lions return into what was always theirs. They don't need permission. They don't need a round of applause. They need clarity, unity, and execution, and they got all three. Now let me switch gears and talk to you, because this ain't just about geopolitics. This is about you too. You been sittin' on the edge of your own destiny for too long. Watchin', waitin', thinkin' the right time gon' come knockin'. Baby, time don't knock, it moves. And if you ain't movin' with it, you lossin'. Learn from these nations. Watch what quiet preparation can do. Watch what relentless discipline can birth. They ain't waitin' for a savior, they became their own rescue. That's what you gotta do. Stop expecting someone to come fix your situation. Wake up, train, read, move, build, plan, execute. You want freedom. You want your land back, metaphorically or literally. Then act like it. Speak less, work more, walk with vision. People gon' doubt you. That's fine. Let him. India got doubted. Israel got doubted, and look where they at. They in the cockpit now. Not just passengers on the flight of destiny, they flyin' the whole damn plane, and don't be fooled by silence. Silence ain't weakness. Silence is strategy. You don't always gotta announce what you about to do. Sometimes the best move is to move without tellin' a soul. Surprise don't come from noise, it comes from stillness. From people underestimating you. That's where the real power lies. India ain't out here begging the UN to make things right. Israel ain't sitting around hoping someone will understand their perspective. They operate in like champions who already won, now they just collect in what's theirs. That's the energy you need to adopt in your own life. Stop explain in yourself to people who ain't even earned the right to hear your plans. You don't owe them a press conference. You owe yourself a mission. You owe your future a declaration, not in words, but in actions. POK gon' be a symbol, not just of geopolitical shift, but of personal victory. When they reclaim that land, it's gon' teach a generation what quiet confidence, calculated steps, and consistent pressure can do. That's not war, that's wisdom, and wisdom wins when noise fades. Now I ain't gonna stand here and lie to you. Reclaiming anything, land, life, dignity, identity, it ain't easy. It takes sacrifices that most people too afraid to make. You gotta be willing to be misunderstood. You gotta be willing to walk alone. And most of all, you gotta be willing to wait while you build. Wait while you bleed. Wait while they laugh until the moment comes. And when that moment comes, you don't scream, you don't gloat. You just move, you just move. That's what India and Israel are about to do. And when they move, the world gon' act surprised. But you won't be surprised. You knew, you felt it, you saw the pattern, you heard the silence, and you understood the language, because when two wounded warriors link arms not to seek revenge, but to restore justice, the heavens take notice. And when heaven moves, no power on earth can stop what's about to unfold. So you wanna know what's next. Watch, but don't just watch with your eyes. Watch with your spirit. Watch with your preparation. Because history ain't just about to be written, it's about to be reclaimed, and those who doubted, they gon' witness something that noise could never produce. Victory, unapologetic, strategic, righteous. That's what happens when faith meets focus, when pain births purpose, when two nations say enough. Now it's time to collect, not talk, not explain, just collect. It marked the birth of India's assertive military doctrine backed by innovation. For decades, India had operated under a policy of reactive defense, responding to provocations, issuing diplomatic statements, and exercising restraint even when tested beyond reason. That era is over. A quiet transformation has been unfolding behind closed corridors, inside classified labs, deep within military academies and strategic think tanks. A doctrine not built from impulse, but forged through necessity. A doctrine that understands this century is not ruled by the most violent, but by the most visionary. India's partnership with Israel is not about imitation. It is a fusion. Israel brings the blueprint of survival, surgical precision, asymmetric warfare, and technological dominance. India brings scale, terrain advantage, numerical depth, and one thing the world has always underestimated: strategic patience. But this patience is no longer passive. It is structured, active, and dangerously focused. No longer waiting to be provoked to act. Now it is prepared to preempt, and that shift changes everything. The new doctrine revolves around three non-negotiable pillars: intelligence, deterrence, and disruption. Intelligence no longer just means human assets on the ground. It means machine learning systems that can detect insurgent movement through footstep vibration sensors. It means drones that operate in swarms, self-correct midair, and communicate with battlefield satellites in real time. It means facial recognition technology that can track cross-border infiltrators months before they make their move. This is not science fiction. It's the backbone of the Indian ISR grid quietly being built in collaboration with Israeli firms operating in the shadows. Deterrence now speaks in a language only the bold can understand. No more red lines that dissolve in diplomacy. No more border skirmishes that end in UN appeals. The new deterrence is public silence, but private readiness. It's the knowing that if India moves, the operation will be clean, surgical, and irreversible. And that knowing, more than any public statement, keeps adversaries awake at night. This form of deterrence doesn't come from the size of the military. It comes from how surgically you can use it. Disruption is the most feared pillar, not just of battle plans, but of doctrines. India is rewriting the playbook by refusing to fight wars the old way. Why march legions when you can jam communications for entire brigades? Why cross enemy lines when you can disable their supply chain through embedded AI sabotage? Why wait for enemy tanks when your air fleet can use hypersonic missiles that outrun radar? Disruption means turning the enemy's strength into irrelevance. And that is where innovation becomes lethal. The reclaiming of POK is no longer a political issue. It's a test case for India's new doctrine, not just to reclaim land, but to declare that the age of defensive hesitation is over. The terrain is complex, but India now sees terrain not as a limitation, but as an advantage. Israeli mountain warfare advisors have been cross, training with Indian special forces in terrains that replicate POK worst elevation challenges. Not in front of cameras, not with press coverage, but in silence, in cold, hard discipline, driven silence. Innovation doesn't stop at combat. It extends into logistics. India is deploying a new class of robotic mules that can carry supplies through terrains inaccessible to traditional transport. Solar-powered base camps that can operate fully off-grid. Autonomous surveillance balloons that hover 0 feet above target areas and stream encrypted video directly to command centers in real time. These are not experiments. They're now operational. That's what the world doesn't know. It also extends to morale warfare. Psychological operations have evolved. From social media manipulation to data-driven propaganda, India's doctrine now factors in digital terrain as much as physical terrain. Israel's cyber intelligence arms have aided in developing tools that can dismantle recruitment efforts of cross-border terror organizations before they mature. AI bots designed to infiltrate extremist networks and self-destruct in ways that expose entire cells. It's not just war, it's infiltration of the mind. India's special ops units are no longer training for generalized insurgency response. They are training for micro-theater engagements, missions that last minutes, not hours, where every operative is equipped with biometric-enabled gear that unlocks only with their heartbeat signature, where field intelligence is uploaded through augmented reality visors that connect to AI commanders simulating enemy patterns in real time. This is what it means to pair doctrine with innovation, and every rehearsal brings the real mission closer. Geopolitically, India understands the new global landscape. The United States is divided. Europe is distracted. Russia is entangled. China is overextended. This is the window, not a window to declare war, but a window to execute justice. India's strategy is not to dominate. It's to reclaim, not to occupy, but to restore. The doctrine does not seek empire, it seeks balance, and that's what makes it undefeatable, because ambition rooted in justice is more durable than ambition rooted in power. Israel's shadow role in this plan is deeper than the headlines reveal. Their top-tier cyber units have helped India develop a predictive threat matrix system that uses predictive analytics to determine not just where enemy movement will occur, but why asterisk. It's emotional profiling married to military data. It's predicting sabotage not from gun movements, but from WhatsApp patterns, financial anomalies, even biometric stress signals. That's the future of warfare, and India owns that future now. What few know is that India has also begun the deployment of miniaturized battlefield EMP units, devices that can disable entire grids in a 2 km radius without leaving physical damage. These are not designed to provoke. They are designed to neutralize. You can't fight what you can't power. You can't fight when your entire digital backbone collapses in 3 seconds. That's not just innovative, it's terrifying, and it signals the arrival of India's tech-centric warfare model. Now let's talk about the human factor. The doctrine honors warriors, but it builds thinkers. No more blind obedience to rank. Battlefield command is now algorithm-assisted but human-decided. Decentralized command systems allow field officers to override central orders if local data indicates a shift. That's trust. That's leadership redefined. That's a military not just of strength, but of smart strength. Training cycles have changed. No longer does India measure preparedness by time. It's measured in real-time simulations. Recruits are now tested in VR domes built with Israeli software that simulates POK infiltration missions with stunning accuracy. Climate, wind, topography, even enemy dialects. Failures are studied with machine precision, and learning loops are shortened to days, not months. It's evolution on steroids, and every soldier trained this way becomes a walking day. 10. Enhanced combat unit. India's new doctrine also involves economic readiness. Every military operation is now calculated with economic blowback in mind, not to avoid it, but to absorb it smartly. Strategic reserves have been positioned. Supply chain decoupling has begun. Critical infrastructure is being gapped from foreign access. Even the rupee's digital footprint is being safeguarded in case of economic warfare. Because when the first move is made, the second move must already be completed. That's doctrine. That's innovation. The public may not be prepared for what comes, and that's intentional. Public narrative is always a step behind classified strategy. India's doctrine has no need to seek validation from the masses before execution. It operates on not need to approve, and those in the room, the few who know are aligned. Civilian oversight still exists, but the leash is longer. Trust is higher. Stakes are clearer. The doctrine is not loud. It's deliberate. It moves like a shadow over fire, and POK is not a distant dream, it's a strategic certainty now. Because when preparation meets timing, execution becomes inevitable. This is not doctrine written in a file. It's etched into the minds of every commander, every analyst, every asset watching the border through thermal scopes powered by Israeli innovation and Indian software. This is not revenge, it's return. A return to integrity, a return to wholeness, a return to the idea that if you allow one theft of land to remain unchallenged, you invite others to try. The doctrine understands this. That's why it doesn't flinch. That's why it doesn't warn. It just plans, and every plan has been tested 1,000 times in labs, in war games, in AI models, in the minds of those who don't sleep because their mission won't allow it. The doctrine has built redundancy into every unit. No single point of failure, no single hero narrative. Every soldier is replaceable. Every mission has backups. Every failure is expected and simulated. This isn't ego-driven warfare. This is mathematics wearing camouflage. This is logistics that breathes like a living organism. This is not emotion. This is resolve made real. India has accepted that it cannot beg for justice. It must design it, and justice in the context of POK is not symbolic. It's territorial, it's legal, it's generational, and the doctrine is structured to finish what diplomacy could not to escalate, but to finalize, not to provoke, but to conclude, because some stories don't need negotiation. They need closure. Israel watches from the wings, not as a distant ally, but as a brother. In strategy, their silence is a signal. Their tools are already embedded. Their advisors already on the ground in non-military roles, helping design communication black-out scenarios, civil evacuation plans, and rapid infrastructure transition protocols for the post-reclamation phase. It's not if, it's not when, it's asterisk how fast asterisk, because the doctrine isn't preparing for a battle, it's preparing for aftermath. Restoration, governance, digital integration, counter-radicalization, all layered into the strategy before the first move is made, because true victory isn't winning a fight. It's asterisk ending asterisk the conflict in a way that it cannot restart, and only innovation can ensure that. The Indian Army now runs parallel shadow networks of civilian responders, AI-driven civilian messaging systems, and local language bots ready to deploy to win hearts and minds in POK post-reintegration. The new doctrine doesn't just capture, it convinces, it stabilizes, it transforms, and it does so without needing global endorsement, because when power is real, permission is irrelevant.